Yep. Now, they're not talking about a reboot, but when someone says they're revamping something, you can kind of guess that it's being made for, as they say now, modern audiences. So, Lord of the Rings, one of the most beloved franchises in the history of history. Warner Brothers Pictures is revamping the Lord of the Rings film franchise because we totally need a revamped movie series because, you know, apparently no one liked the Peter Jackson version. It failed miserably, right? I mean, today we have better CGI and all that, but CGI doesn't make the movie, which I believe the CGI in this movie, if they do make them, will be heavy. Like the appeal of Peter Jackson's movies was a lot of the locations were real. When they were out in a field, they weren't just this, on a sound stage. No, it was a real field. When you saw them, when it was all the way panned out, and you saw them running, they were running in an actual, real life area. I mean, they were filmed a lot of it in New Zealand, so those were real. But then you have places, things like Rings of Power, where it's like all CGI, and it takes away from the magic. And because when you see a real life location, it just it makes you think that like this could possibly happen. I love with practical effects and when people they film in an actual area instead of on a freaking sound stage, and it just gives it such beauty to it. And that was one thing that Peter Jackson really wanted to hammer in. Like we were filming in New Zealand. A lot, most of the places you see in the films are actual places. Even if a little bit of CGI was added, these were real places that we filmed at in New Zealand, and we're very proud of it. So, but I think if there was a new Lord of the Rings, I think just a lot of it would be CGI, which takes away from that experience, you know? But Lord of the Rings, we've heard the story Lord of the Rings, Sam and Frodo and company to Mount Doom, destroy the ring. We've heard it. We have the Hobbit trilogy, which followed Bilbo. We have, as bad as it is, we have the Rings of Power series showing the Second Age, which a lot of awesome stuff happened then. Um, but instead of revamping Lord of the Rings, why not go to the first age? Do they not know how much lore happens in just the first age? Why not the origin story, Eru Iluvatar? You know, making the Valar who create everything, and the Maiar, like Sauron and Gandalf and Saruman and all them. Why not see the creation of Middle Earth? You know, the first movie could be like, the very beginning of the movie can be the creation, and then we can kind of move on from there. Because again, in just the first age, so much crap happens. So Melkor, or just he was one of the Valar. He was the first Dark Lord. You have the two trees basically giving light. Destroyed. There's so much crap that happens. Sauron joins with Melkor and basically takes over after he's defeated. I mean, we go from one Dark Lord to another Dark Lord. Dark times, destruction, battles, like huge, like Titan-sized battles. Not, like this. No, these huge beings fighting. So much stuff happens in the first age. I would love to see that. Instead of revamping Lord of the Rings, why not make the origin story of Eru Iluvatar? Show us Eru Iluvatar. Show us the Valar. Show us the Maiar. I would love to see what Gandalf looked like, you know, in Saruman, because the forms we see, that's not their true. Those aren't their true forms. As Sauron was shown, he can change his form, and they can choose whatever form they want because they're essentially just kind of spirits. So the form that Gandalf chose And when they be, like, oh yeah, we want you to go down and walk around Middle Earth, and the wizards, they're not actually wizards, they're not actually old men, but those were the forms they chose, or forms they were given. So when Gandalf dies, he really doesn't die. Especially he's off since he went to the Grey Havens, Undying Lands. I think actually once he gets back to the Undying Lands, he doesn't have to be in his Gandalf form anymore. He can kind of revert back to his Maiar form. Um, but I would love to see the First Age, the creation, but instead it looks like they're just going to do it the lazy route. It's like, oh, we're just going to remake Lord of the Rings. Oh yeah, that tale of Frodo and Mount. Yeah, we're just going to remake that. I think someone said it's like, oh, they're not remaking or rebooting, they're continuing. It's like, what's to be continued? Sam and Frodo get to Mount Doom. They destroy the ring. Frodo goes off with Gandalf and Galadriel and Elrond off to the Grey Havens or Undying Lands. Not really much is said to happen after that. We know that Gimli and Legolas go to the Undying Lands years afterwards. In fact, I think Legolas and Gimli built their own boat to go to the Undying Lands. So, not a whole lot happened. So, how are they going to continue a story that wasn't continued by the man himself? By Tolkien himself. Kind of just seems like, oh, we're just going to make crap up. And that shouldn't happen. Respect the source material. You have material you haven't used yet. So instead of being lazy and doing this crap by, trying to make crap up or rebooting or whatever, go back to the original story, the creation, the First Age, or how about a big screen version of the Second Age? You want to fix stuff? Why not fix what the Rings of Power is doing? They completely messed up the lore. And that's what people like these movies for, is the lore. Go back, make it to where Sauron created the Rings of Power for the elves. And Rings of Power, Galadriel's the one who makes the rings. That's not how it happened. Sauron was the one who made all the Rings of Power. But in Rings of Power, it's like, Galadriel made them now. The fact that Galadriel doesn't have a husband and child at this point, that means Arwen doesn't exist. Because Galadriel's daughter goes on to marry Elrond, and they have Arwen. But Galadriel's a powerful single woman who don't need no man, and so the daughter doesn't exist. Therefore, no one's getting married to Elrond. Therefore, Elrond and this person, their imaginary daughter now, never have Arwen. So they've completely messed up so many points in this. So if you want to do something, go back and fix the Second Age. The way they're telling it, because they're just completely messing it up. But I'm just so tired of this laziness. This constant, oh, well, we have no idea. So let's just take something like Lord of the Rings, even though it's been done already, and let's just redo it. Or add more. Or make it for a modern audience. How about you just make the Second Age? Make the First Age? There are just some trilogies you don't touch. Lord of the Rings is one of them. Star Wars, I don't really like Star Wars like that, but I can accept that for the time, they were huge, and they still are. They still hold up. Back to the Future. People have said if they remake Back to the Future, there will be rioting in the streets. The Karate Kid franchise, the trilogy. There's just some trilogies you don't touch. And instead of Hollywood saying, oh yeah, let's tell this story instead, it's like, oh yeah, everyone knows the story of Frodo and the Ring. Let's just redo that. God, there's so much lore. Let's keep telling the same story over and over and over, because people love that. Except this time, Frodo's going to be trans. And Sam is going to be gay. Legolas is going to be non-binary. And Gimli get this. Gimli's going to be a female, and Aragorn is going to be black. That's a real thing, by the way. Aragorn in Magic the Gathering. Aragorn's not black, but they made him black for diversity. So, boy, I can't wait for an all-star diverse cast of every checkbox possible uh, in this revamped Lord of the Rings. And if it's not Lord of the Rings like this, and it's another story, maybe taking place afterwards, well, like I said, what can take place afterwards? It'd be great. The next movie is just Gimli and Legolas building the ship to the Undying Lands. It's just 3 hours of them building a ship. Like Legolas is building the ship, and it's just 3 hours of Gimli gathering materials. Gimli, we need more wood. Hey, I'll go get some wood, lad. And he just follow him as he gets wood. And then we come back to Legolas. And then when they try to, when they get in the ship and try to start sailing, there's not enough wind or something, so they're just sitting there for 15 minutes. Oh boy, quite the storyteller there. But it's like, there's really nothing that happens after Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings itself, we all know the story of the ring. Do the second age, do the first age, do the creation story. I don't care. Just stop taking things like this and revamping or rebooting or whatever you want to call it. Because it always fails. Every time. Every single time. And they just haven't realized or learned this yet. They'll think, oh God, look at all this money we're making. Man, it must be popular. No, people, it's called curiosity. People know it's going to be bad, but they're going to go see it anyway because they want to see how bad it is, which unfortunately contributes to revenue. Just like Rings of Power. We knew Rings of Power was going to be hot garbage, but people tuned in anyway just to see how bad it actually was. And people were the company and all these people, oh God, it's so popular. No, it's not. It may have made a lot of money, on Amazon because people are tuning in, but it's to see how bad it is. And then when you look at the scores and everything, it shows that it's bad. It shows that the people didn't like it. So people tuning in doesn't equate to it being popular. Curiosity is a huge human emotion and trait. So when people know it's going to be hot garbage, they're going to tune in knowing full well it's going to be bad, but wanting to see how bad it actually is going to be and how bad it actually is. Curiosity killed the cat, or curiosity also gave the companies money, but also gave them bad reviews and scores. So, but Warner Brothers, if you have any self-respect, which we know you don't do it. Just don't. Stop it. Get some help. Because Lord of the Rings doesn't need a revamp. It doesn't need a reboot. It doesn't need a continuation. If you want to tell a Lord of the Rings story, tell the creation story. Tell of the first age. Tell of the second age. We don't need to go back to stuff like Bilbo or Frodo or any of that. We don't need it. We don't need it. So you can keep your revamp or whatever, make an original story, or take the lore that has been given to you that hasn't been talked about yet, and make something from that. Because again, the first age, so much crap happens. Why not make a film series about that? But they won't, because they're just going to cash in on what people know. Not a whole lot of people know about Eru Ilúvatar, or in the creation of the world, or the first age, but maybe you can get some more people to like it and know it if you show it to them, because these people are not going to go online and do research. They'd rather have it put in front of them, explained in the best way possible, and in order for them to understand it with pretty visuals. So if you want people to like Lord of the Rings and you want to get new fans in, start from the beginning. Tell people the creation of the world, how it all started, who started it all, the first races that popped up, how they evolved into certain things, or how how we got the wizards, you know, the five wizards. Tell about the story of Melkor and his rise to the in the power of becoming the first Dark Lord, his defeat, and how Sauron became the next Dark Lord. That's the story we want to see. That's the origin story. That's what can really grip people. I mean, I think we'd actually get to see real dragons. I mean, we had Smaug and all that, but in Lord of the Rings, there are dragons that are the size of mountains. Like, there are dragons that are that freaking huge. Show us to them. Show them to us. Arag, I'm about to say Aragog, the other giant spider, Shelob. Shelob is part of a brood of a spider that existed like in the first age. Show us that. The Balrogs, the Balrog of Morgoth. Show us that. Anyway, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, I guess. They're just gonna keep doing the same crap over and 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 over until it just people get so tired of it they just stop watching completely. Even the people who hate watch, they're just like, you know what, I don't care anymore. I hope you lose money. But I would say, if for the question, be like, would you guys see it? I'm sure you would, because again, curiosity. You'd want to see how bad it is. But if they were to remake a Lord of the Rings, do you want it to be like a continuation, even though there really is no, like, would you go watch a movie for 3 hours of Gimli and Legolas just on a boat? Gimli, I need more rope. Aye, lad. And then he goes to get rope. Would you watch that? Do you want to see the creation, the Eru Iluvatar, the Valar, the Maiar, first humans, or maybe the second age, like I said, Malcor, and all this awesome stuff, the trees? Is that something you prefer to see, or would you want to see a revamp of the same crap we've seen already? Done very well by Peter Jackson. Let me know below. Anyway, you guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.